right, welcome to Money Chat Now, brought to you by Investor Schooling. Hey, you can attend a complimentary class this Thursday by going to investorschooling.com. I'm your host, Larry Steinhouse, and today we're going to be discussing some great stuff, starting with, wow, the U.S. reached 70% vaccine milestone. Biden got what he wanted. The infrastructure deal and how that's going to affect the stock market. Robinhood stock. I'm telling you, this is going to be one of my favorites. I'm telling you right now. I want to talk a little bit more about the eviction moratorium and how it's in effect for certain states. I want to talk about what's going to come up, which is the unemployment dilemma. I want to talk about notable earnings and, of course, some of my favorite stock picks, which will be coming up real soon. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the CDC data saying that 70% of U.S. adults have had at least one shot of COVID-19 vaccine. You know, that headline that 70% of Americans are vaccinated was misleading. And I thought it was misleading. I pulled it off of CNBC, and then I read into it, and it said that we've had at least one shot. 70% have at least one shot. Now, I got to be frankly honest with you, I don't believe it anyway, but at the same time, it's still misleading because apparently you're not fully vaccinated unless you've had two shots. So we're not really vaccinated even if you say 70%. But hey, listen, you know, the great President Biden has to be edified by saying, hey, we got our 70% vaccine rate. So there it is. He's done it. Amazing. Because it's actually a month before Biden said it was going to happen. Well, I'm sorry, a month after Biden said it was going to happen, which, you know, I'll tell you what, on anything that big, a month after something happening is pretty good, but it's not real. I don't, you know, whether it's 70% or not, it's still only the first shot. Okay, but this is important because this means a lot for stocks. So if this headline gets legs, it's really important for stocks. There's certain stocks that this is going to really help. Let's start with, first of all, AAL. So if we want to talk about AAL, to me, American Airlines is a great play. It's one of the few, you know, what do you want to call it, recovery stocks that are left. The airlines are left, the cruise lines are left. Anything that was closed for a long period of time that's opening, not opened, but opening, is a great recovery stock still to play. So my suggestion, and I've been doing this too, I've been going AAL, I've been been buying some stock in AAL. I mostly trade stock options. I've been buying some stock in AAL, but I will tell you that most of the stock options that I've been trading in AAL, I've been trading them into January or February is what I'm holding them out to, because I know that AAL is going to be a $30 to $35 stock in that range. It's just a little bit of, you know, nail biting right now because you get a little nervous, a little white knuckling, if you want to call it that, and it'll be fine after a while. If you want to also take a look at CCL, we can also see that CCL is another great one. We just lost my camera. Oh, there it goes. It's fine. So also CCL is a great one too, and CCL will also do the same kind of thing where CCL, you know, it's on a downtrend, but it's not a real downtrend. It's just a fear downtrend. Look, CCL is a great company. If you take a look, if we can even look at the, let's take a look at the 5-year chart, for example. You could take a quick look at the 5-year chart, and you could easily see something that makes a whole lot of sense. And here it is, the 5-year chart. You can see that this stock normally trades in the 40 to 50 range, and it's sitting there at 21, which means this thing's going to come back roaring. So again, I would go out to January or February, March, whatever, and you're going to be fine. As a matter of fact, if you just want to buy stocks, I would buy this stock, put it in a drawer, forget about it. Most likely in a year or two, you're going to double or triple your money, and also it'll be paying dividends at the time. So it'll be a great stock to have. And if you want to take a look at RCL, and we talked about RCL last week as well, RCL had some interesting stuff going on because they had 6 people aboard a ship who had COVID, which, whatever, it is what it is. So that's one of those things, but again, RCL is another one. I actually like CCL better than RCL, but at the same time, there we go. So the other thing I want to talk about real quickly before we go on is the Dow Jones ended down 97 points today. Now, the Dow Jones actually hit a new record today. It hit a record of, almost, actually went over 35,000. 35,192 was a record, which is fantastic. And then what typically happens, and I've noticed this with records, is they hit the record and they fall back down pretty quickly, but they don't fall back, they don't stay down. It used to be that they would go down a lot after they hit a record, and it hasn't happened in over a year and a half. In fact, I got burned on a couple of those plays where I thought the Dow was going to go down, and it didn't, and the S&P was going to go down, and it didn't, because it normally happens. And of course, in this case, it once again didn't happen. So we also have the S&P was only down 8 points, nothing major, and the NASDAQ actually closed up 8 points too. So that wasn't bad either. So we take a look back over here. By the way, I got to tell you, one of my new favorite stocks, and I mentioned this the other day, is Robinhood stock. Now, when I talk about this, it's very unusual for me to recommend an IPO when it's an IPO. It's really nice that after a while, Robinhood stock, or I'm sorry, most of the IPOs, they'll open up high and they'll drop, and then they'll drop a little more, and they'll drop a little more, and they'll drop, and then eventually you pick them up and they do really well. I think that Robinhood stock somehow, some way, was priced right from the beginning. Coming out at $38 was fantastic. It's sit there. I think it closed today right around $38. It's fine. I bought some last week around $36. And I'm also waiting for the options play on Robinhood, because I think the options play on Robinhood is going to be as good or better than the options play on Coinbase. Coinbase is another one. Coinbase opened in the 400s, which was ridiculous, and then Coinbase came back down. When it came back down into the low 200 range, and it's actually a nice ranging stock. So I actually like Coinbase right around 220, and when Coinbase goes to 220, I like to pick it up, sell it right around 235, 240, and take a profit and move on. But I want to talk about go back to Robinhood for a second. So Kathy Wood's ARK funds bought $65 million of Robinhood stock. It's funny that sometimes I must be a genius when I think this is a great stock, but then somebody else like Kathy Wood confirms it. For you guys who don't know who Kathy Wood is, Kathy Wood is like she created this ARK fund, and it's like the hottest fund out there right now. Everybody is talking about it, and I don't even know if it's doing as well as it could be doing, or as well as it should be doing. But I do know that everyone's talking about it, which is pretty wild. This is a woman who really knows her stuff. She was with some great firms before. She was even with 18 years. She was a chief economist. So this is a woman who really knows her stuff, and she continues to do great stuff. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about the eviction moratorium and what's happening there.
Okay, so you've thought about investing in real estate, houses, apartment buildings, properties, but don't really know where to start. Well, what if you could very easily learn how to gain strategies to use other people's money to buy and sell houses in the Philadelphia area? If you could learn and network with successful area real estate investors and how to produce monthly income on rental properties without headaches, that place is Investor Schooling. With Investor Schooling, you'll learn from two Philadelphia area rockstar real estate investors, Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhouse, about how to buy and sell properties the easy way and teach you basic and advanced techniques to help you make money in real estate. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online visual classes 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate. Call for free information and get a complimentary pass to one of these classes. But don't delay, as these complimentary passes are limited. Call the number on your screen now or visit investorschooling.com. investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back. Hey, we talked a little bit about Robinhood stock. We talked about AAL stock. We talked about some of my favorite stocks, which is the transportation industry right now, and how they're going to be the recovery stocks, and how you could be making lots of money when you're in them. I think they're all going to be great plays. So I want to talk a little bit more about the eviction moratorium. We talked about this on Friday, and basically what happened was Biden administration didn't want to extend, or didn't make a move to extend, the federal moratorium on evictions of tenants who fell behind in rent during the COVID-19 pandemic. Was there a pandemic? I don't remember. Oh, yes, there was, I'm sure. Okay. And basically, they may ask Congress to authorize an extension. I doubt it's going to happen. I also doubt it's going to get the votes. However, certain states have their own rules. So, even though you're hearing that these eviction moratoriums are over, it's not really true for every state. First of all, Illinois is going till the end of August. Maryland is going until August 15th. Hawaii, I hope you're not going to be evicted from Hawaii. Hawaii it's going till October 6th. California until October. New York until September. Now, this is interesting. New York's until September, but they must submit a hardship form to the landlord. Now, when I read that, I'm like, hardships formed to the landlord? So basically they have to ask permission from the landlord for eviction moratorium? I'm confused by that one. I'd love to see what that letter looks like or what the advice is on that one, but I found that fascinating. Of course, the communist state New Jersey is until January, and some states like Oregon and Washington can have its tenants pay back rent in a payment schedule. First of all, I think that's the best choice, and I think that's a great choice that they're talking about having people pay back rent in a payment schedule. Now, at the same time, it's not going to be easy for tenants to do that, but at least it's somewhat fair to everyone. Where if the tenant owes, let's say the tenant owes let's say the tenant owes $3,000 and in back rent, and their rent's $1,000, they could add $100 a month until the $3,000 is paid off. The problem with that is, of course, that the tenant falls behind, then they fell behind twice. So there is problems. But look, at least there's some kind of logic to that rule. All right, but many other states like Oregon, like I said, Oregon and Washington, they can pay back, but many other states are complicated. So make sure that you understand, if you're a landlord or a tenant, understand the rules before you go screaming to your landlord, hey, I don't have to pay my rent, you can't evict me. And the same thing with the tenant, I'm sorry, the landlord, don't say to the tenant, hey, you're going to get evicted now. The next thing that's going on is unemployment insurance bonuses are ending. I'm calling them bonuses. They're not relief, they're bonuses. They're basically saying, if you don't want to work, we'll give you an extra $300, because there are so many jobs out there right now that you don't need unemployment. You shouldn't be on unemployment. But hey, we're going to give you a $300 bonus if you stay on unemployment. So there you go. So that's why your restaurant doesn't have servers, and this store doesn't have people in it, and that every single store has self-wanted signs on it, because everyone's getting a $300 bonus for sitting at home. I remember when it was a time where it used to be shameful to be unemployment. Now you hold up your check and go, I make more money than you sitting home and doing nothing. So luckily that's going away, and it's going to end September 6th, and it also doesn't appear that Congress will extend them. So that's a really good thing for businesses. It's a really good thing for fairness. It's a really good thing for everyone, if you ask me, except for the very few people who really needed it. And I say very few people because that's pretty much where we are right now. In the beginning, that's one thing, but now, absolutely not. So the other thing too is a lot of people are on unemployment, and their unemployment is going to end soon. They're basically saying, hey, listen, it's time for you to start looking for a job and get to work. So those benefits are going to have to stop soon. And again, that's great. The next thing that's going on is, if we all heard about the bipartisan, it must be good, infrastructure deal, which is going to, and by the way, infrastructure, the word, my relatives and I, we had a conversation about this one day. What is infrastructure? What does it mean? So the first thing that comes to your head is, of course, roads, right? Oh, wow, they're going to redo the roads. No. That's only part of it. It's a really small part of it. They're talking about anything and everything that they want to add into this bill. I mean, they're adding cable running and fiber optics running, which is fine. It's okay. But, at least know what you're talking about when you're talking about whether the infrastructure deal is a good deal or a bad deal. Some of the other things like solar, they're going to be throwing into here. And again, maybe in the long run, these will all be great for the United States, great for the planet. That's fine. But at least know that it's not just roads. It's much more than roads. So the cool thing about this is, again, they're getting closer. They should be passing this any day now. But there's some great stocks that you could be watching while this is happening. Any one of those stocks can include metals, industrials, utilities, and of course, as I mentioned before, solar. And I'm going to tell you right now, Tesla will be a rocking stock for that as well, because Tesla will do well within the infrastructure bill, because they're doing the electric cars, so that will work. All right, so going over to some notable earnings. I want to talk about probably the only earnings, I don't know if the earnings came out yet, but it's Simon Property Group. And the only reason I saw this today was because I know there's a mall near me that Simon owns that literally they stopped paying on. So I was trying to figure out how Simon could stop paying on a property and continue to have good earnings. So it looks like, and it's odd, but it looks like that the earnings are out, and they're basically saying that it looks like it may be good. I mean, I don't have the actual earnings announcement, but I see the stock climbing after hours, so most likely it's good. But it's just bizarre to me that, first of all the malls, everything is out right now. I mean, people, if you go into a mall right now, if you have 50% vacancy, that's good compared to what's going on. Most of the malls are completely empty. So I was kind of surprised at this, seeing Simon Property Group going up after hours. And again, it must have did very well, or they must have had some good guidance. I don't know which, but I don't understand it whatsoever. And that's why I wanted to look at it. I really just thought it was going to be a very interesting stock to see Simon Property Group going up. And sure enough, there it is. So, hey, it just goes to show you that companies don't need to make money, or don't need to be good, or don't need to be responsible for the stock to go up. Very wild stuff. All right, I want to talk about some of my favorite picks still. I want to go over to Apple. Let's go over to Apple and take a look at the Apple chart right now, because Apple is floating in a good area right now. And I want to just call it up on my screen, and we'll talk about Apple real quick. And Apple is going to be a killer. Now, I don't like it at 145. You know, I'm waiting for it to just float down a little bit. Just float down a little. Float down below 140. If we really get lucky, float down below 135, and then it's a really nice play. I'm just sitting here and watching it. That's all I'm doing with it right now. I've got a couple of shares in one of my accounts, but I've got no options on it, and I'm not selling any calls on it or any covered calls on it yet, because it's not high enough for me to sell the covered calls. But I also want to see it go down so I could buy some calls on it. That would be to me, that would be a better play. If we look at Facebook, we can actually see that Facebook is sitting there, and Facebook is also dropping. You know, I predicted this last week, but I didn't. You know, I didn't think it was going to drop down 20 points in 2 days or 3 days. If I would have known, I probably would have enjoyed that a lot, because Facebook is. I like to see Facebook. I'd like to see Facebook tank right now. Facebook put me in Facebook jail. Do you believe that? They put me in Facebook jail again, and I didn't even say anything this time. I mean, once or twice. I've been in Facebook jail 5 times. 2 of them I agreed with. 3 of them I think they're complete crap. But we'll have to talk about that another time, because this isn't the place for it. But Facebook is a play. I'd like to see Facebook down in 335. This is where I'd like to see it. I know it's going there. It's definitely going to 335. I thought it would have went below 300 before earnings. It didn't happen, so I didn't get there. But that was okay. It is what it is. And then Alibaba. So Alibaba is an interesting play. Alibaba, the big problem with Alibaba is the Chinese government keeps confusing all the investors. And when I say they're confusing them, they're basically threatening that we're going to chop off Alibaba's legs. But Alibaba is a magical company. You guys all got that right. And it's a magical company, and it's going to do fine. I mean, for Alibaba to be at 200, that's nuts. It belongs to 250, 280. It's a play if you want to hold on to it as a stock. You want to play it out. You're going to do really well with it as a stock. But as a stock option, you're going to have to just go out a little bit further, because it gets a little bit scary. All right, let's go take a break, and we'll talk about a couple more stocks when we get back.
Okay, so you've thought about investing in real estate, houses, apartment buildings, properties, but don't really know where to start? Well, what if you could very easily learn how to gain strategies to use other people's money to buy and sell houses in the Philadelphia area? If you could learn and network with successful area real estate investors, and how to produce monthly income on rental properties without headaches, that place is Investor Schooling. With Investor Schooling, you'll learn from 2 Philadelphia area rockstar real estate investors, Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhouse, about how to buy and sell properties the easy way, and teach you basic and advanced techniques to help you make money in real estate. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online visual classes 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate. Call for free information and get a complimentary pass to one of these classes. But don't delay, as these complimentary passes are limited. Call the number on your screen now or visit investorschooling.com. investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Money Chat Now. I'm Larry Steinhouse. I'm your host, and we are brought to you by, of course, Investor Schooling. And you can go to investorschooling.com and take a complimentary class there, because that's really cool stuff. And you'll get to see me in person, which is kind of neat, because, hey, if I look this good on camera, imagine what I look like in person. So you'll enjoy that as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about inflation real quick, because I think that's pretty much where we are at this point. They're saying that inflation is going to be temporary. the level of inflation, I believe, will be temporary, but I don't believe inflation is going to be temporary. I believe inflation is going to take its toll on us as consumers. It already has. The gas prices have been skyrocketing. Housing prices have gone up. Building materials have gone up. And they're probably not going to come down. Really should. They're probably going to come down to 70, maybe 20% less. I don't know. I'm just giving you rough numbers. About housing will be fine. Housing always says fine in any economy as long as you know how to buy. It's not always about when to buy, of course. And we teach that. We actually teach that at investor school. But more importantly enough, you need to know that buying houses is a great investment. It always will be a great investment. So bonds, because of inflation, bonds are going to be changing, and they actually believe that there might not be so many bonds sold right now. Now, bonds, a lot of people put their money in bonds when there's inflation. They put their money in gold when there's inflation, and gold right now is actually sitting right around 1,800 again, and silver is sitting at 25. I'm a big believer in having metals, precious metals, as a hedge. And I don't want to say a hedge against inflation. It happens to be, but it's also a hedge against bad stuff. So when bad stuff happens, you have some gold, you have some silver, you'll be able to recover or at least be able to hold yourself over. Crypto. So crypto, I saw this weekend, I saw Ethereum starting to come back. It's around 2,600 now, which is great news. Dogecoin isn't doing much. It's still sitting there at 21. And Bitcoin keeps hovering at 40,000. Now, look, I said this before. I'm not much of a crypto guy. But, it's intriguing. And, I've got some money in it. And I might say, hey, it might be a play in the future. Anyway, I want to let you guys know that I'm excited that you guys were watching today. Tomorrow we'll be discussing some more notable earnings. We'll be talking about some more trends in the stock market, and of course, always all the news that are relative to making money. I want to thank you for watching Money Chat Now. And by the way, from time to time, I own some of the assets and options discussed in this show. The opinions discussed in this show is solely mine, and no one has asked me to discuss them. And I want to thank you again for watching Money Chat Now. We look forward to your continued support. Please like and share. We need to get the word out that this show is on every day and that you can learn lots of good stuff. Take care. Thanks a lot.